A story in the bustling heart of Kolkata, amidst the noise of modern life. There are whispers of something ancient, an unseen presence that lurks in the shadows of the city, watching, waiting. Though many dismiss these stories as folklore, there are those who have encountered her, those who have felt her presence in the quiet hours of the night. The Silent Bride, Unseen. Anaya was a young journalist, recently married, who had just moved into a small, old apartment with her husband, Arjun. The building was charming, nestled between the crowded streets but aged. Its walls seemed to hum with forgotten memories, every creak of the floor a reminder of those who had lived there before. Anaya's work often required her to dig into local legends for articles, and one evening, her editor handed her a new assignment, the tale of the Petni. These were ghosts, she learned, of women who had died young, without their desires ever being fulfilled. They wandered the earth, their jealousy and pain becoming their chains, haunting men and families. Though intrigued, Anaya didn't believe in such things. But soon, the nights in her new home grew restless. At first, it was subtle, a whisper carried on the wind, a shadow flickering just out of sight, a strange heaviness in the air. Anaya often felt a presence in the room, watching her as she lay in bed. Every night, the feeling intensified, leaving her drenched in cold sweat and unable to sleep. Arjun, who worked late most nights, dismissed her concerns. He laughed it off, chalking it up to her overactive imagination from reading too many ghost stories. But Anaya's intuition screamed at her that something was wrong. One evening, while home alone, Anaya felt compelled to explore the old building. Something was drawing her downstairs, into the basement where no one seemed to go. The air grew colder as she descended. The old, rusty door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room cluttered with forgotten objects, relics of lives once lived. But among the debris was something that sent a chill down her spine. A wedding sari, faded but still intact, draped across an old chair. There were photographs, too, framed images of a bride, a woman whose face was eerily similar to hers. At that moment, Anaya realized she wasn't alone. Part 2. The Meeting. The room grew deathly cold, and Anaya's breath hitched in her throat. A shadow shifted in the corner, and then she saw her, a figure in a bridal sari, hair disheveled, eyes wide and hollow. The Petni, she spoke, her voice like a cold wind. You took my place. Anaya froze, heart pounding. The ghostly woman began to tell her story, how she had died in that very building years ago, her life stolen before she could fulfill her desire to be married. She was to wed a man who never showed, a man who had broken her heart and left her to die, her spirit tethered to the unsatisfied longing that consumed her. And now, the Petni wanted something in return. Her envy toward living women who achieved what she never could, a loving marriage, was suffocating. Anaya was her new target. You will know the pain of being forgotten. Anaya fled the basement, her mind reeling. But the haunting only grew worse from there. Every night, Petni's presence was stronger. Her reflection seen in mirrors, her cold breath felt on Anaya's neck, her voice echoing in the empty halls. Arjun, who still doubted her, was being pulled away by late-night calls to work, leaving Anaya more vulnerable, isolated. Part 3. The Confrontation. With her last shred of hope, Anaya sought out the local priest, a man known for his wisdom in dealing with restless spirits. He listened intently as she described the Petni, her voice trembling with fear and exhaustion. The priest explained that though the Petni was dangerous, she was not beyond reach. Her torment was born of unfulfilled desires, her pain chaining her to the living world. There was a way, he said, to confront her, to help her move on, but it required courage, understanding, and a great personal risk. That night, Anaya stood in the basement once again, clutching a small talisman the priest had given her, a symbol meant to protect her soul. The room was thick with silence, and the cold air pressed in around her. She waited, heart pounding, until the familiar figure of the Petni appeared. her ghostly form drifting toward her, eyes hollow with longing and anger. "You think I took your place," Anaya said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "But I didn't. You were stolen from this world, and I have only tried to live. I am not your enemy." The Petni's face twisted in a snarl, but Anaya pressed on. "You died with your desires unfulfilled, but holding on to them has only brought you more pain. It's time to let go. It's time to be free." For a moment, the Petni paused, her form flickering, wavering between the woman she had once been and the angry spirit she had become. The room grew still, as if the very air held its breath. Finally, the Petni's eyes softened. There was no more anger, only sorrow, deep and consuming. She nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the truth she had been running from for so long. And with that, her figure began to dissolve, fading into the shadows of the room, leaving only a lingering coldness behind. Anaya stood there, trembling, but she felt something lift from her chest, a burden she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. She had faced the darkness and survived. The Petni was gone. Part 4, New Beginnings. Weeks passed, and Anaya's life returned to normal, or so it seemed. She and Arjun were closer than ever, their home filled with laughter, passion, and a newfound intimacy that felt almost too good to be true. Anaya, once reserved and distant from the exhaustion of her haunting, had transformed. She was more confident, sensual, and bold in ways that surprised even her. Arjun couldn't get enough of her. Their love life had never been so intense, so consuming. Anaya seemed different, yes, but it was a change that thrilled him. She had become a version of herself that was magnetic, irresistible, and he wasn't the only one who noticed. Friends and colleagues remarked on the glow about her, the way she seemed to move through the world with an almost ethereal grace. She was radiant, alive in a way she hadn't been before. She was still Anaya, yes, but there was something else within her now, something ancient, something dangerous. And Arjun, he didn't mind. The passion, the thrill, the mystery that now surrounded his wife. It all intoxicated him. He chose to embrace the strange, seductive presence that had entered their lives. For now, it seemed harmless. For now, it only made their love burn brighter. But as he lay there, a small voice whispered in the back of his mind, warning him of what might come. How long could he play this game? He pushed the thoughts away, closed his eyes, and drifted to sleep, unaware of the cold smile that curled at Anaya's lips in the dark. And as long as her desires were fulfilled, she would remain. This is the story of Petni, a relentless spirit bound by her desires, a tale of longing, jealousy, and the eerie ways the past intertwines with the present. Tales by the Wolf presents another chilling narrative that makes you question the true cost of unfulfilled wishes.